Do you want to pause the recording and now?
Good evening, everyone. This is a meeting of the School Building Committee for Thursday, March 9, 2023. Thank you for all being here. First item on our agenda is approval of the February 23 minutes.
I'd like to move we approve them.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Second from Steve. Are there any corrections? Okay, seeing none, then all in favor of approving the February 23 minutes, please. Oh. Mary, can you hear me? Can you hear me online?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Yes, I can hear you. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the February 23 minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, that brings us then to the opportunity for public input. So anybody who would like to address the building committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to our contractor, architect, and OPM update. Steve, maybe we'll let you start off.
Sure. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
I'm down in a trailer in Milford today. We're moving the project towards its final completion. Punch list is being completed. It's moving forward pretty rapidly. We'll have another meeting with the commissioning agent, Colliers, and the engineer of design next week to go through a recap. Well, we're working off of a list provided by the agent. He needs to verify a few things. The wallpaper has arrived. The mock-up, I think they're going to start the mock-up on Monday. It's the last read I got from the painting contractor. And they're going to go in that upper atrium level. I think they agreed that's where they'll do the mock-up. And so that'll be going on Monday. If we get Jeff out there to review the mock-up, then we'll just proceed with the install. And that should take us maybe 2 or 3 weeks to complete the whole situation. So we'll be well under the wire for school move. An update on the gym. We cut our POs with the flooring contractor on Friday. And then we had to revise it again on Monday. The material has been ordered and he says he has it. And we had to pull 4,000 square feet of a 6,300 square foot gym to cover any potential mold issues and things of that nature. He's waiting on the subflooring. We've got about 1,700 square feet of subflooring that we have to replace. The rest of the subflooring was in pretty good shape. And I would say in about a week or so, and we made it very clear to him that the gym needs to be completed before the school moves in. And I met with him on Thursday last week in the afternoon and made it clear that that's really the end game. He needs to be done so you guys can use the gym. And he didn't jump up and down and say it can't happen, won't happen, it'll never happen. I think he understood the situation, and we'll go from there. So you can see the demo's been completed. We had him out there Thursday to sign off on the demo and the work that we had done, and have him measure up the floor to make sure that what he was ordering was ample quantity. So the mold, there was some mold between the slab and the vapor barrier and then on the back side of the maple flooring. Right up, we went one extra expansion joint in north. Yeah, point to that. Yeah, we went one more 6-foot wide piece to make sure that we got it all, and everything's out. We're good. The floor has been prepared by the demo contractor with a mold protectant, so that's all been done. We're ready to roll. It's the last thing we need to do there in the gym. Between this couple week period before the wood shows up, we're going to complete all the above ceiling work. So we can't be doing that after the gym shows up because we won't be able to use the floor, or you won't be able to. So that's kind of an update of where we are. The exterior work, I think maybe if you could see the planter, it's been done. The work table has been substantially complete. Secure the black locust logs for the seats. I think there's 15 of them. We're having a little difficult time finding that black locust. We tried going into the cedar. I guess it's worse to find that. So we've got some other leads to get that completed. We'll certainly get it done beforehand. I think Joe had deferred the work to review the work in the pod area because of the weather that encroached on us last week. And I'm just waiting to hear when he's going to reschedule Fuss and O'Neill out there, so I can go out there with them and with BB to kind of assess where we're at and what we need to do to complete that work. So that one's kind of in Collier's court, along with Fuss and O'Neill. And I think the weather's going to be beneficial for us next week to probably get on and get that started, or at least get an understanding of what needs to be done to have that thing drain. We have a scheduled meeting next week with the paving contractor to review the areas that need to be cut out and repaired. I'll be part of that meeting. Either myself or Brian Grant will be part of that meeting. And get a plan of attack for that. BB's going to be mobilizing next week to their work. First order of business on his end is the area where our trailer is. Needs to be cleaned up. I think the trailer's leaving shortly. I can't tell you when. I think it may be next week, but I can't remember. So that area will be cleaned up, and we'll just move BB into finishing the areas that couldn't be done as the weather allows him to. And right behind him, we've got Stonehenge Landscaping, who will make a decision on where he needs to be relative to the plants that got missed last winter, and the seeding that needs to be re-raked and done in areas. So that's all in planning right now and scheduled either tentatively or permanently.
Ryan has a question for you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Just want to go back to the gym floor real quick. I had a sidebar with Adam earlier today, and the information he shared with me sounded, encouraging, but just in case any other members of the committee are wondering the same thing, I figured I'd ask the question for the group and give you a chance to address it. So if I'm using the right terminology, you said that the finished floor in the gym, which I know when I looked at that, peering in through the glass, I was surprised to see just how much of it had to come up. It was kind of a gut shot to see that, frankly. But in any case, if I'm using the terminology right, you said that basically flooring got removed back to an expansion joint.
That's correct.
And so the question I had was, obviously before this happened, the whole floor was striped. So when the stuff comes out, the finished floor comes out and new is coming in, Adam confirmed that the old striping, that which is currently still there, that won't come off, that will stay, and basically
No, that's incorrect. We went through that scope with him last Thursday. The intent is the new floor, and he's getting a mix of the type 2 and type 1, so it blends properly. But when the new floor is installed, he's sanding the entire floor. He's going to restripe the entire floor and he's going to reseal the entire floor. And the reason you want to do that is that floor, even though it's kind of new, it's aged a bit. So it's colored a little differently than a new floor right up to the other floor. To give you a new floor, we have to do striping and the sealing over again. And I think the reason it looks quite evasive, and actually we're arguing with the insurance companies right now, but that's invisible to you, is for him to do the right job from the stage, he has to run all the way to that curtain wall. And we said, and the insurance companies, well, why can't you stitch in only the place it's wet? And we said, no, because that's never going to look right. Even if you sand it out, it'll never look right. So the only way to do it is to replace the entire floor, stage the curtain wall up to a point that we feel comfortable that we got the moisture out and any potential mold. So hopefully
So
that's.
then I guess, thanks for clarifying that. Then I guess now I have concerns that I didn't have a moment ago. And my concern is, wood floors only have so many of, refinishing treatments in them. So we're going to be, you're saying,
You're going to be one. You're going
finishing
to
a
be
portion of the floor.
one sanding short of its life expectancy, but it is a 33rd, 32nd floor. I would be a little more concerned if it was the thinner floor. It's a thicker floor. And yeah, unfortunately, 2,000 square feet of that floor is going to be sanded out and you're going to lose one sanding.
Is it not possible to have a whole new floor?
We
We
tried
haven't
to,
even moved into the building where, and we're already
tried-
using
Randy,
one.
we tried to push that with the insurance agents, and I think Ryan, and we've as far as we can go. I think one sanding taken out of the mix of where you're at right now. In my own opinion, nobody in this room will be alive when the useful life of that floor is exceeded. It needs to be replaced.
Go ahead.
The other concern, if I can just say something here. Can anybody hear me? It's Jeff.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but this 30 seconds flooring that we got and that you're going to lace into, if we were to do a whole new floor, I don't know that we can get that thick of a grade 1 or even 2 anymore, right? It's all 3/4 now.
Yeah, he was able to secure the product. It's kind of funny, at the same time that this went on, New York University lost their floor with a sprinkler bust. And he's been down there replacing that floor. Because of the order of that work, he was able to secure the floor, so we can get the proper thickness.
Okay. That was my question.
Okay, so my question is, the floor is going to be level. So if we're sanding the old floor and the new floor, won't the new floor be as low as the old floor? So that we're not really losing one sanding on 2,000 square feet. We're losing a sanding across the entire floor.
No, we have to sand, to properly prep before you seal, we've got to sand the floor.
Right, I understand. But so let's say the brand new, you put it in and it's 30 seconds, right? It's 1 inch because you took off just a little bit. Now you're going to go back in with the new flooring and then you have to sand that down along with the old flooring. So instead of the new stuff being 1 inch, 32, it's going to be 30 across the entire thing, right? Because the whole floor has to be leveled. We can't sand to different levels.
I understand the logic, but I would have to get a determination from the wood flooring contractor. I'm not a wood floor expert on that. I do understand your concept. So what you're saying is that the 2,000 feet will have 2 sandings done and we may have to sand out an extra time on the existing floor. I can get that clarified for you, Steve.
Can you see my monitor, my screen?
Yeah. I can.
All right, sorry, but that is 1/8 of an inch thick. So assuming they don't get any more than that, we're about sanding down to probably less than 1/8 of an inch.
Oh, he's sanding, I think, a 1/16 of an inch.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's, I mean, that's the sanding process.
right, just to get down to the wood, right?
Get down to the wood.
But
20.
still, the new wood is going to be thicker than the old wood when you install it. So you're going to have to take extra wood off the new wood, or else reduce the subflooring by a 1/16 of an inch in order to have them level.
Well, they'll feather them out, probably, right, Steve?
You're gonna have a level floor. I mean, it's, I think when you butt the unsanded, understand that the new wood is unsanded and still rough. And it's probably gonna be proud of the existing floor by some distance, whether it's a 1/16 or an eighth.
My concern, just to,
Don't
I mean,
know.
my concern and frustration here is that I understand that the useful life of the floor will probably still be, there'll be a lot of years in it. My concern is that before we've even started to operate a school in there, we've already essentially used up one treatment. So you're shortening the useful life. So before we even occupy the building,
For
the
2000.
useful life of the gym floor, the way this is being approached, is shortened. I mean, at its face, is that not accurate?
For 2,000 feet.
We're sanding the whole, I thought we just determined we're gonna have to sand the entire floor to get,
So the new floor is, the new floor is never been sanded when it goes down.
here's, okay. I guess, all right. I think how I feel about this has been articulated, so thank you.
Another gym question, but separate from the floor. How are we doing with the trench drain that goes outside the gym on that sidewalk?
That's part of the work with BB's remob. So that's would be in process. Once we get him back on the job next week, that'll be part of the progression of him completing his work.
Other questions for Steve? Okay, Madison.
Hi there. So about 2 weeks ago, when we had our last meeting, I think the report was that we were 60 to 65% complete with the punch list. So what would you say the percentage of completion of that punch list is today?
I didn't get an update from our project engineer today, but I would guess that we're 85% complete on punch list. Probably 65% on commissioning. There's a lot of, and don't quote me on that, Adam, I see you typing it down. There's a lot of verify in field by the commissioning agent that's still on his list showing as open. And there's a great deal of stuff. For some reason, he wasn't there this week. I can't answer for him.
I've just been looking at the PCO, or whatever you call it, from from CES, and raises some real concerns for me about the fact that certain parts of the installations and tuning and stuff of the electronics, whatever it is that he's referring to, is undone or unready even to be tested. I'm really concerned about this. Do you think this is going to hold us up? I mean, what is the problem here?
Without being privy to his invoice, I couldn't address on when that invoice was dated for when that work was being performed. I can tell you right now that we're probably 95% done with the lighting control and electronic package on the entire project. 2 weeks ago, we had a walkthrough, and we had a lighting controls training period, at which we did the revisions that the committee wanted to have done on the daylight harvesting in the cafeteria. And so that invoice may be dated. I couldn't tell you without seeing it.
Basically,
we
this is
have?
Adam. Yeah, it basically referring to the February sequence of operations. So not necessarily the lighting, just all the outstanding functional testing and SOO items.
I thought,
From
she-
late
I thought
February.
she had said electrical.
Hey, Adam, could you say that again? We had a lot of feedback going on here in the council chambers.
So, Steve, just for your background, so the commissioning agent was referring to some of the multiple meetings that happened the past couple weeks in mid-February and late February about sequence of operations and the controls. So not necessarily the lighting, but the HVAC system.
Yeah, I think I reported 2 weeks ago that, or maybe it was in the owners meeting last week, that we had a big milestone a week or so ago, because there were issues with the sequence of operations as specified and how the system truly should operate. And it was probably a 2.5 or 3 hour meeting with the commissioning agent, with the design engineer, with ourselves, with the mechanical contractor, with the controls contractor, with the balancing contractor, with Alan and Bill, or at least maybe Bill from the town online. And many of the items we deferred to the town. This is what's specified. Here's how we think you really want it being run. And they identified limits, set points, how it shuts down, when it shuts down. And that happened about 2 weeks ago. So from that was a huge milestone to get the resolution of design reality, in essence. We are now moving from that point forward to completion. The dashboard is going to be set up in the BMS system as ABS has committed to us by mid-March. So we're thinking next week, we're going to see the dashboard set up. We're going to see systems operating in the sequences that were resolved a couple of weeks ago. Now, mind you, there are some things within the system that are problematic, and I reported that the unit heaters in the vestibules are probably the biggest issue. And I was physically in there with the mechanical contractor, literally cutting free the controls, because and you guys all been in that vestibule. It's 120 degrees in there. And we can't have that for school opening, to find out that there may be an issue with the controls and not the heater. So we were able to trace that back. I can't tell you that there's resolution right now. I didn't get an update. We'd have a commissioning meeting today. I wasn't able to walk the job. So we know that that's a major issue. And there are some issues with the VAVs between differential switches and pressure switches, and some arguing going back and forth actually between the commissioning agent and the design engineer on how it should be set up. So we're trying different means and methods. So it's getting pared down. Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay, any other questions for Steve?
All right, last
yeah,
question, I
go
swear,
ahead.
on the floor for today. Steve, would it be possible? I know time is of the essence. We're trying to open a new school here next month, but would it be possible through whoever we're using for this flooring or however that comes to be, for us to get a cost estimate? I know you're saying that insurance has only agreed to replace what's been taken out thus far, but would we be able to get a cost estimate of what the delta would be to replace the entire floor?
I could. Yeah, right now the insurance is willing to pay about half of what we've got to do. So again, they've even like narrowed it even further. So we've agreed that we've got to do what we got to do, and we'll let the insurance companies fight and litigate on their end. But yeah, I could follow up with that, Ryan.
I mean, I guess I'll look for others maybe I'm the only one interested in this, but I for one am interested. You know, we built this school, the entire floor was going to be new, the same age, no feathering, none of that. And so I guess I would be curious to know what that cost difference is just to start with a new floor.
Yeah, I would support Ryan's Ryan's question and look for that number. When it was just a few square feet or 10% of the floor, that's one thing. But now that we're 75% of the floor being replaced, it seems silly to bring the entire floor to the lowest common denominator. I think we ought to at least explore the option.
That sounds good. I have a quick question though regarding that though. Sorry to interrupt. It's my understanding, and hopefully I'm wrong, but if you do a new floor, it's going to be 3/4 of an inch thick, not the inch and an eighth. So you're already starting off with a much thinner floor if you get a new floor now.
Well, I think I've got to check with Coran. He was able to secure
That's only for the
4,200 square feet of the proper specified thickness of floor. I don't know how he got it, but he got it. If I add another 2,000 feet order, can he get the wood? I think that's the question.
Because
Exactly.
we want the thicker wood.
Yeah,
Correct.
and you're getting the thicker wood for this replacement. You're getting the specified wood.
No, the question is if we do the new floor, it should be the thicker wood as well for the estimate. Correct?
Yeah, well, the balance, you can't line up the thinner floor with the thicker floor. They don't line up.
I understand that, right? Does everybody else understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do. And I'd like to kind of just jump in if I could, Randy.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I support Randy's idea, Ryan's idea of getting a price for the entire replacement floor at the thicker floor dimension that we're currently talking about.
Right. So
So
the
Steve, it
question will
would
be
be-
if they can actually procure that.
Yeah, so Steve, it would be finding what 2,300 more square
Yeah,
feet of
something
that.
like that, Chris.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
If that's possible, can we find that out? That'd be great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I could probably text him on the way home or something. He's up in Albany. I was quite astounded when he said he got the floor. And I was worried because the removal kept growing and growing and growing. That's why I wanted to meet him last Thursday and we actually measured the floor. And I said, do you got enough floor coming? He says, I got 4,200 square feet coming. This is 4,050 square feet that you need replaced. So, yeah, I'll find out.
Thanks, Steve. Rich, have a question.
I also support Ryan's idea, but I also would like to say that I would not want to do it at the expense of not having a gym floor when we move into the new school. If it comes down to whether we do the whole entire floor or we have a gym floor for the opening of school, I'm going to go for opening of school with a gym floor.
Okay. All right. Well, Steve will follow up on that for us. Okay, then Jeff, do you have an update? Anything else to share?
I have nothing more other than at some point I got to sit down with Ben at Newfield and go through the high performance school points that we get and just make sure that we're all on board with that. And I suppose Adam's going to join us too with that. So other than that, it looks like there are some more closeout documents I got to review. There was one RFI. It looks like it got answered by our landscape architect. So I think we're good on RFIs. There's probably like a half a dozen or so submittals on Procore I still need to address, but those are dealing with closeout documents primarily. So that's my mission, is to just get through those.
Okay, questions for Jeff? Okay, Adam?
So the only thing I would add, because we talked a bit about the commissioning, their trainings are ongoing with kitchen equipment and some of these last other training items, as well as just working through some of the field discrepancies that came up on the punch list as Steve was talking about. So there's been a lot of Jamie involvement with ensuring all of the security cameras are up and running and that sort of thing. So again, lots of just cleanup items as we get towards the April 18th date. Otherwise, it's going to be covered by what Steve was saying.
Any questions for Adam? Okay, seeing no questions then, I guess we can move on to the PCO and procurement review.
All right, I'll share my screen for that. So there are 4 items on the PCO and procurement front for tonight. The first item is just an FYI. This was a construction change directive that was approved on an expedited basis just to clarify the need for the traveler cabler for a wired camera in the elevator. So this is the camera showed. Newfield had asked for a construction change directive for the work. So this is just following up on that so that way the camera can be installed. So no action needed on that tonight. The PCO for Newfield is PCO 164 for $1,300. This is for some of the reprogramming of the lighting controls to support some of the lighting that was on in the cafe and the corridor that was asked about by, I think Chris Kiefner was the first was to notice it a while back. So this is for that scope of work to do that reprogramming.
Adam, can you tell me answer my frequent curiosity about these? How is this one labeled?
So far as
Is it a power request? Is it a errors and omissions? Is it a who knew? What category does it go into?
So this one, because it appears to align with the specifications and owner's project requirements, is categorized initially by Colliers as the first WAG as an owner request. If that's something that we want to look at further as we go into the evaluation of all the PCOs, as we near the end of the job, we can do that. But the initial notion would be owner request.
Yeah, I would like to make it a standard that when you can't turn off the lights, that it's an error, not a request of the owner.
Okay, are there questions? Thanks, Chris. Are there questions about this PCO?
I just want to agree with Chris Kiefner on this one,
Okay, thanks.
not our request.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve PCO 164 for the amount of $1,369.91? Okay, I have a motion from Tony, second. Steve? Okay, then all in favor of approving PCO 164, please indicate. Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, so that's unanimous.
All right. And the next item is for request by CES, who is our commissioning agent. Tony had brought this one up earlier. This is for $6,600, I believe. Yes, on an hourly basis to extend their commissioning services. So the commissioning agent has a number of tasks, as you can see outlined here, that they conduct throughout the construction phase. They have been working with myself and Joe and Cola Ronan and Newfield to stretch out their services in light of some of the delays, the DOAS delay and things of that nature. So originally their contract was based on the original project timeline of having the building completed in summer. So they've been working with us to stretch out their services since the summer until now, but they've exhausted their stretching abilities at this point. So the request is for this extension on an hourly basis so they can document any additional items above and beyond their base contract, and we can review those and recognize that additional effort.
Move to approve the request for additional services dated 3/8/23 from CES for an amount up to $6,600 billed on an hourly basis for extended construction phase commissioning services.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Rich? Okay. Other questions?
I do have one question
Okay, go
about this. It was my understanding that in the letter that they asked for this, that they made it clear that they did not want to be, and this to be the upper limit. If they needed more, they reserved the right to come back. So this motion says an amount up to $6,600. So are we assuming it could be less than, or are we setting an upper limit?
So it could be less than that. I was speaking with their project executive about this, and the notion was that they didn't want to convey the notion that any and all extensions would be covered by the 6,600, and that there was a set scope. So that's, and that they might come back, and if this continued to drag out for whatever reason, that there was problems with the controls and we were out for months and months and they continued to have to do work, that they want to make it clear that they can't continue to stretch. So it wasn't as though this was a set scope of work they would be able to complete for 6,600. But to your question, if they don't expend that much time based on their hourly billings, then it will be less than that. If they get up to that limit and they identify the need for more, and the project team and SBC agrees that there needs to be more, then there would be an additional authorization. But point being is that they, and as indicated in the last sentence of that paragraph you're referring to, they won't proceed beyond 6,600 without additional authorization from the school building committee.
All right, I can't quite figure out how to put that into the motion as amendment. So why don't we just say that it is the sense of the committee that that we are not totally foreclosing any additional requests for money based on additional delays.
okay, but then that would, it would end up coming back to the committee at that point.
Yes, it would have
Okay.
to come back to the committee, but for the legislative record.
Okay, all right. Other questions or comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this additional services from CES. All in favor, please indicate. Any opposed or abstentions?
Okay, and the last item is a proposal solicited by Jamie with Town IT for $2,495 for modifications to the speakers system. Basically, when the speakers were installed, they were installed to meet the specifications. When Jamie did his walkthroughs, there were areas which he felt should be louder in order to better suit the environment. So that involves changing out one of the wires. It's not a ton of work, there's just a lot of locations. So basically you go to 43 spots and you swap the wattage from 0.5 watt to 1 watt. So that work be coordinated through, but the Jamie identified as the locations, and that's the $2,495 up for consideration.
Sure.
I move to approve the quote dated March 2nd, 2023 from East SC in the amount of $2,495 for modifications to the classroom speakers.
Okay, there's a
Second.
motion, second from Chris McDowell. Any further questions? And all in favor of the motion, please indicate. Opposed or abstentions? Okay, so it's unanimous. Okay. That concludes that portion, right, Adam?
Yes.
Okay, so then that brings us to executive session. Is there a motion to go
I
into?
move we go into executive session with guests of the town manager, the superintendent, Adam, and Scott from Pelliers.
Yeah.
To just, oh, pardon me, you know what, let's get somebody's more more experienced with these.
I move we go into executive session pursuant to Connecticut General Statute, section 1-200 sub 6 and section 1-210 sub B for discussions of contract revisions due to project delays. This meeting to include the town manager, the superintendent of schools, Mr. Levitas and Mr. Pellman.
Okay, that's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, and then with that, we're going to pause the recording for the time being. Okay, we are back in open session. We left executive session at 5:22 PM. Do we have a motion, Tony?
Yes, I move that we approve the TSKP Amendment 9 for a lump sum fee of $27,772.50 for services through January 2023 and additional services for extended construction administration beyond January 2023 on an hourly basis with an allowance not to exceed $40,000.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Is there a second? Rich seconds.
This is a $67,000 commitment.
Well,
Am I right?
up to.
Up to.
Up to, right. Thank you.
Okay, then Rich seconded. Any other questions? Then all in favor of this motion, please indicate. Opposed or abstentions? Okay. All right, thank you. And that brings us to adjournment.
Move we adjourn.
Okay, Chris Kiefer moves, we adjourn. Is there a second? Madison, thank you. Then all in favor can say goodbye. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.